4 o'clock. We were having a little technical difficulty, but, he says we now have it straightened out. Okay. So we'll move forward. I've asked, Commissioner Smith to lead our minds in prayer. I've asked, Commissioner Sharon Langford to lead us in the flag. So if you'll silence your devices, we'll get started.
Will you pray with me? Father, we're so thankful for the good day that you give us. Thank you for all the blessings that you provide to us each day, and just for the benefit of being here in this county and the good people that we have. And just pray you continue to bless us. We pray for our first responders and all those that help protect us, our military and the folks that serve us each day, even our county employees. And just pray, Father, that you'd be with this board today as we consider the business of the county, help us make the wise decisions that are good for our county long term, and just help us continue to want to serve one another. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I will say that, if we're not done by a certain time after a while, I'm gonna have to leave a little bit early. My one and only granddaughter is graduating from high school tonight. So I had a son graduating Thursday night, and I got a granddaughter graduating tonight. So I'm gonna try to go to that graduation. I've already warned my vice chair here to be prepared. We may be through by then, we'll see. Okay, did everybody have a chance to look at the, agenda? Bobby, you got any changes?
No, sir.
None. Todd?
None today.
Okay, anybody else?
Motion approved again. Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Thomas and a second by Commissioner Bill Martin to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Everyone have a chance to look at the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sharon and a second from Commissioner Smith to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Okay, now we have, public participation. Anybody from the public like to address the board at this time? You'll have an opportunity at the beginning, you'll have an opportunity at the end. Okay, I see nobody. We'll go to our constitutional officers. Anybody here? See nobody. We'll go to our county administrator.
Yes, sir. My item start with item number 6 today, Mr. Chairman. The first item is basically, through our fire EMS, and it's with our community paramedic. It's a agreement with Andrews Healthcare Consulting. As you know, our community paramedic works with multiple agencies, and we have to have different MOUs in place. I'm going to ask Mr. Clemens, if he will, to explain the details of this MOU for you.
Brian Clemens, Gilchrist County Fire Rescue, Mobile Integrated Health. This MOU with Andrews Healthcare is actually our best one yet. It's going to help us make money. What this is going to allow me to do is do telehealth visits and bill for some other stuff. Earlier this year, I went and got a board certification, a community health worker, so that we could begin billing for some of the services I provide. Very limited, not going to be a windfall of money, but it is going to help us be, sustainable later. It's a 60-40 split currently. If I see a patient via telehealth with them, we'll get 60% of the reimbursement. They'll get 40.
So this is when you call telehealth with the patient.
Yes, ma'am.
Cool.
Dixie County has executed this MOU. Tallahassee has approved this MOU.
Because we'll have to pay it anyway, so we'll just get part of that then.
Yep, and
It's
it's
good.
great. So we'll be the second county in the state that I know of to execute this, but it was approved by Tallahassee. Dixie's having great outcomes already with theirs, and ultimately we plan to do something very similar with Palmer.
You call a lot telehealth with the patient to try to help them with the,
After this, I will.
good, yeah.
Right, this is the same group we talked about last.
So it is the same umbrella.
Right.
Then they have mental health, psychiatry, and then this is gonna fall under their primary care and transitional care.
Yeah.
And,
Sounds good.
Because you can let them know, you know, what the vitals are and, you know, what currently medication, you know, especially with elder, because they get confused. And if there needs to be a prescription change or any of that, so that's good that we're gonna do this.
Ryan, in the contract, it doesn't really stipulate like the split, should it?
I believe it is in there if we look.
You can control that.
I thought it was in there. And then, I mean, so.
I do see it
Okay.
in section B, okay.
Yes, and then to note that of course, what that amount will be varies by every
Yeah.
different insurance provider, carrier. Some of them will be zero, some of them, maybe $10, some maybe 20, some maybe 30 for an hour's worth of work. It just, it's going to vary.
Good.
All right.
Keep them from out of the doctor's office, maybe. Keep them from going, you know, when you go, you have more,
And the biggest problem,
easy getting sick.
we have so many people who don't have transportation
Yeah.
in Gilchrist County, and while it's a little easier in the south end, the amount of patients that we have with the Branford address and Gilchrist, and then the north, the north end of Bell, it's crazy how many people we have that don't have transportation. And the fact that we now have reliable internet throughout the county makes this
Mhm.
a true, reality.
That's what everything is going to, they can't drive and they can't get out, and you can get a hold of them, and I mean, I guess even with, depending on the technology, is it something where you can actually see and talk with them and?
Oh, yes, sir. So it's live feed, and that's the thing. I'll be the eyes and ears of the provider. My monitor is great, so the doctor can see everything on my monitor lifetime, that I purchased through the grant original. So we're pretty set up for it. We're excited about it, honestly. I think once we execute this with Palm, it's gonna be real good. So.
And with telehealth, if you don't have good internet, you can also, like if he's in a spot where it's kind of spotty or whatever, you can always call them and just do it, through
And
the
luckily my
phone.
county vehicle has reliable internet.
Oh, then you're good then.
So, we pay, that's part of my budget, is
Okay.
the credit points that Ryan has with me. So I can always,
Mm-hmm.
Good.
All right, do we need to make a motion to approve this?
Yes.
So, I move to approve, the community paramedic, MOU with Andrews Healthcare. Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Martin and a second from Mr. Smith to approve the community health services agreement. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Yes, sir. My next item is numbers.
I was telling Ron, no more. We really checked a lot of these contracts.
Yeah.
3 more?
I want that.
Okay, thank you.
Our next item is number 7 under Ag Extension. In our budget this year, we had budgeted for a grain drill that they had requested at Ag Extensions. We were able to obtain 2 quotes. We did try to get a 3rd or 4th quote and was unable to. The quote that came in at the least amount was $14,900.47. This is from First Products. Mr. Tyler Pittman worked on getting the quotes to make sure it was the type of grain drill that he was looking for his trials and different projects. So just need approval to purchase the grain drill, and if we have any questions, Mr. Pittman is here today to answer those questions.
Now, will this be where farmers can rent this or something?
I think so, but I'm gonna let Mr. Pittman come up and answer that, if you will, because they've talked about it creating a program where it would be able to be used, so.
I'm Tyler Pittman, Ag Extension. So this, to give you a little bit of background on this, historically there in the county, there has been rental equipment from the Soil and Water District, and that availability has went away, for various reasons and whatnot. But that's a big almost you would call it a complaint that we get through our office is we don't have the means to do this and I can't go out and buy this piece of equipment for a small operation. Coupled with this year, Department of Agriculture released a new BMP program for small farms, and they're actively trying to transition folks who are voluntarily enrolled in things like the cow-calf program or the row crop program or the equine program, but low acreage, so anywhere from 10 to 200 acres, they're trying to transition them into the small farms program. And historically, as part of that program, you had the privilege of getting cost share on equipment like this. Well, now they're talking about reducing the cost share percentages on the small farms program for those people when they would have been eligible for a higher amount had they not transitioned out of it. And so this is kind of filling a gap for that. And the idea is this is going to be more of an educational tool than it is going to be a piece of rental equipment. So to be eligible to rent the equipment, they'll have to participate in probably at least an 8-hour workshop that involves training and educational components on how to use it, why to use it, that sort of thing. Part of our mission through extension. And then there'll be a fee-based rental for it probably on a per acre basis to help cover the cost of things like insurance and maintenance and eventually replacement of the equipment if it goes to us.
You're planning on running, trials with this?
Yes, sir.
On
That'll be
different grains and stuff? Is that?
It's mostly for alternative type forages. So intercropping into our summer perennial pastures. That's one of our BMPs we try to recommend. It helps reduce hay inputs, fertilizer inputs, all targeted towards water quality and quantity, and helping keep soils where they should be in the winter, that sort of thing. So it'll be focused on winter forages, but it'll also, having it will also give us the ability to use it for trials for field days, demonstration plots when we get out to the new office and such. It'll also complement one of our 4-H programs, the Food Plot Project, which we have about 40 kids participate in every year. So there'll probably be some type of program with them to be eligible to use it for their projects and things like that. So the rental program is just one aspect of the whole use of the equipment. It'll have many uses.
Tyler, I mean, I agree. I think it's a good, idea. And, just being able to, I guess it's a no-till drill.
It is, it's a no-till drill, and the unique part about this one, the first product, is it's built to be used with small equipment. So historically, no-till drills required 75 to 100 horsepower tractors, which if you ever bought one, they're very expensive, and not every small farm has that kind of equipment. This can be pulled with a compact tractor, I think as low as 25 horsepower. It's self-contained hydraulics, so you just plug it into the light adapter on a pickup truck or a UTV or anything, and you can even pull it with a UTV as well, or a pickup truck with plant with it. So it's a very versatile piece of equipment that makes it really accessible to anyone, not just for big farms.
I mentioned to you earlier, I think the liability question is something we ought to explore, because there's potential for some issues there, even with the training, I think.
Right. And that the cost of any kind of insurance for that can be factored into the.
Yeah,
the
maybe we
fee-based
can add it
program.
as a rider to our, I don't know how you, with the county.
Well, as far as liability goes, anybody that's using anything that belongs to the county is automatically covered.
Okay.
So we're already covered with this piece of equipment as far as a standard from a liability standpoint. The only insurance we'd need to, if we wanted to insure the piece of equipment itself, in case it was stolen or something, along that line. But as far as our liability, we would already be covered because, especially if it's work being done on our property, we get the properties insured and we'll be covered, but we would even be covered off-site. We've made sure of that through our liability that, it would really be hard not to be covered using our stuff. You'd probably have to stole it and be using it somewhere you weren't supposed to be using it to not be covered.
Somebody wrecks it or somebody has
It would be covered.
all that covered.
Yeah.
And also,
If we gave them permission to pull it, then it would be covered. Mhm.
and on top of that, the second level of liability coverage, if we have workshops and things like that, we typically take out event policies to cover those as well on top of what the county office.
What is classified small farm from 10 to 200 acres?
That's kind of the number I'm thinking we're gonna shoot far. You know, the idea is you don't want somebody renting it and going out and trying to plant 1,000 acres.
Right.
Cause that's gonna take it away from other people who might.
They gonna wear it out too.
But someone that acreage is gonna be enrolled in a different program, they're gonna be eligible for 75% cost share on their own piece of equipment. This is for those folks that are trying to transition out of that, and I don't think FDAC sets a specific acreage limit to those
Right.
different tracks of that program. But just from my experience here in the county, it's anywhere from 10 to that 200 acre range, or those are people who have a hard time justifying a purchase like that for the acreage that they have.
So if you had 40 acres and you want to plant rye for your cows or something, this would be that,
Correct.
you know, piece of equipment.
Correct. You could come rent a piece of equipment, it's, you know, be a few $100s to rent it.
Yeah, you only use it once a year.
Yeah.
Right, you're only gonna use it once a year, maybe twice a year, depending on what you're trying to do, but, those are all things we recommend folks do,
Right.
but we don't always have a solution for them on how to go about doing it.
Right.
And this is kind of filling that hole.
Do we have a place that we store equipment such as anything the ag department, the, extension department
Mhm.
has? Is there a storage area that y'all have?
This, along with our other equipment we have, would be stored out at the ag complex, the rodeo arena,
Okay.
in that garage that, the county had kind of retrofitted for us to store the sprayer in and some of my automation equipment for irrigation projects. So right now, it's just locked in that closed garage. Most people don't know what's even in there, but here, hopefully within the next year or so, we'll be out there with it.
All right.
And that'd be where the
I
program
saw
will
that
be based out.
broken ground out there now
Right,
and all that, so that's
we're
pretty
moving
cool.
dirt anymore.
All right. All
So
right.
hopefully we'll be out there with the equipment in the next year or so.
Who's gonna be responsible for repairs and stuff, but people that never farmed and doing it don't care if it's fishing.
Right, that would fall on me probably, but that's gonna be part of the educational component. So we don't want somebody who's never ran a tractor or for the seed
Pretty
drill.
sure when they pull up, you can probably, first
You-
5
you
minutes,
can
you
tell.
probably know, if they know what they're talking about, if they know.
But that's part of the requirement to be eligible for the rental program. You're gonna have to come do a hands-on training on how to use this, how to maintain it, and how not to break it, before you can take it off and plant your own stuff.
Yeah, I make a motion if we're ready for that to approve purchase of the, grand drill.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I-
You wanna put the amount in there?
$14,947.47.
For the record, this is under the purchasing policy, to not require a bid. But we did only get 2 quotes.
Well, we only received 2 quotes.
I
He
got the
was,
third one today.
you did? Okay.
Left it on-
He had been working on the third one for some time, so, and, we'll have those quotes submitted with the PO, so
Okay.
that it'll all be together.
So we will,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Smith and a second from Commissioner Martin to approve the purchase of the multi-drill for $14,900.47. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion.
Tyler, if I may ask you a question before you, just so I don't forget later. Would you mind checking with the people who have you buying this equipment from? And a lot of times they'll provide a call sheet, like a cost per acre that they estimate to operate the
Right.
equipment or hour or whatever.
Mhm.
And then that way we can kind of look at what we think that rate would be, because we would need to bring that rate back to them once we get that established and have
Right.
them approve it. So if we could maybe see if they have a call sheet that they produced,
Okay.
and that'll give us an idea what rate to
If
set.
they don't have something, I believe we have
Okay,
information on that
okay,
from one of our economists in Live Oak.
okay,
We
sounds
should be
good.
able to get you some numbers on that.
Yeah. That's what, I just want to be fair to us and fair to whoever's renting it as well too.
Right.
So, yeah.
Tyler, can I ask real quick? I know we're on a time frame here, but you're helping lots of watermelon growers and related to irrigation efficiency and saving water and reducing nitrogen losses to the groundwater. And can you briefly talk about that? And I know watermelon season's kicked off, and I'm hearing the price is not as good, which is not good for our local farmers. And so,
Right. So the last few years, I've kind of carried the banner for IFAS in terms of automation for drip irrigated crops in general, which around here is watermelons and squash, peppers, that sort of thing. And so we've had some major successes with that over the last 2 years. 3 years ago, there was nothing in Swanee Valley that was automated. About 200 acres was all over the place. From that, with some grant funding from the Department of Agriculture, I built the first system on the tailgate of the truck out here in the extension office, and had a couple farmers that were willing to give it a shot. And since then, industries came in and kind of took the lead on equipment development. But this year, we're looking at about 5,000 acres of the 10,000 in the region that are automated with that equipment we built here in the parking lot. And of those 5,000 acres, this year, they're going to reduce their water use by 694 million gallons over the course of the season, and they're going to save about 100,000 pounds of nitrogen that they would use otherwise. So it's been a big windfall and a cost savings for them in a year like this. It makes a big difference. And the great thing about that equipment and that program is it was able to fall under Swanee River Water Management District's existing cost share programs. So we didn't have to go beg for any program to get help on that equipment. So they've been able to, I believe they've averaged 84% cost share on that equipment. So it's been a huge win for watermelon growers around here. And in a year like this, where it's probably leaner times, it'll pay off even more.
Thanks for what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a time certain at 4:15?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Duke, you gonna do that?
I will. Mr. Langford, this is a quasi judicial hearing, excuse me, because it is a site-specific, application. And, when we have the conclusion, I'll present a staff report. Mr. Tommy Bond's here. He's the petitioner on behalf of the applicants, Mr. and Ms. Kite. He'll give his presentation, if any. I'll be happy to answer any questions that the board has, of course. And of course, when you, at the conclusion of the hearing, you will then render a decision. You'll either approve, deny, or approve with conditions. So that being stated, since it's a quasi judicial hearing, if any board members has had any ex parte communication with the applicant or Mr. Bond, you should disclose that on the record, and that should remove any presumption of prejudice. Hearing none. If any board member has a conflict of interest, same thing applies. None? Okay, again, I'll present the application. We'll run through it, and then we will call on Mr. Bond if he has any questions. This is a notice of public hearing was published in the Dixie County Advocate in accordance with law on May the 8th and May the 15th in regard to resolution number 2025-17, which was a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, vacating lots 34 through 40 inclusive, Swanee River Highlands, 3rd edition, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 1, page 21, Public Records of Gilchrist County, Florida, and returning the described property back into acreage and establishing an effective date. You'll see the notice of public hearing, first document on the list. You'll see a copy of the proposed resolution, which I'll read again at the conclusion of the hearing. That is 2025-17. You'll see the petition that was provided that Mr. Bond filed with the county. You'll see the application that was filed. This is another situation where there are a number of lots in Swanee River Highlands, 3rd edition. The health department will not allow those lots to be combined to make more than 1 acre to allow for a septic tank to be issued. What they do require is that you actually vacate those lots, have it re-described by a meets and bounds legal description, give the determination of the total acreage based on that, have the board take it completely out of the subdivision before they will proceed with processing an application. So the Kites have been caught up in this drama that I call it, which I believe there's been conversation trying to get the legislature to address that, because it takes any subdivision anywhere, if it has less than 1 acre and it has an adjoining lot that would make the more than 1 acre, all they got to do is combine them, which is actually what the Kites thought they needed to do and did that. But then the health department wouldn't recognize that. So we're here on the application to vacate it and return it back into a meets and bounds legal description. So that's the application that's in the file before you. You'll see a letter that they wrote to us the Kites wrote on May the 5th. That's in there. requesting that the vacation, be granted by the board because, of the cost of an aerobic septic system, and also they had to have more than the required acreage with one lot or two lots, that sort of thing. I believe they said that the standard system was approximately $4,000, whereas an aerobic system would be approximately 14,000, installation and cost. But it still had to battle the acreage situation, the fact that it's in a recorded subdivision. So that being said, the next document you'll see is a petition to vacate the lots. It's a petition by Lewis Kite and Angela Kite. They're the owners of lots 34 through 40, Swanee River Highlands, 3rd edition. It's a recorded subdivision in Gilchrist County, Florida. They have provided us with a copy of their title insurance commitment, which I have filed with this application. They also gave us a copy of their title insurance policy for the lots. They showed their deeds, the taxes have been paid through 2024. And you'll see at item 4, the description of lots 34 through 40 of Swanee River Highlands 3rd edition is described there by meets and bounds legal description, start at this point, run so many minutes, feet, that sort of thing, to get the entire acreage determined, and that comes out to be 7.31 acres, more or less. Vacation of lots 34 through 40 from the subdivision by the governing body will not affect the ownership or right of convenient access to any other persons in other parts of the subdivision, and they're not requesting the vacation of any adjacent streets or public roads, but only the lots that are on their common ownership. The title search also revealed, and Ms. Kite got that to me. I think she sent it to me on Friday, but I got it off my internet this morning. There's a mortgage holder on this property, Ameris Bank, and they have sent us a letter that says, this letter is to confirm that Ameris Bank finds it acceptable for the above referenced borrower and property to be separated from the Swanee River Highlands subdivision. We're going to require, speaking in third person, the bank is going to require an updated title and deed documentation to correct the legal description of the property. With that being said, I'd like to offer that into the record as the county's Exhibit 1 for identification, and I will give that to the clerk for him to have that placed in the minutes by Ms. Karen. Essentially, that's the long and the short of it. You'll see the proof of publication has been returned to us from the Dixie Advocate, where it went in the newspaper, which is required by advocate. Required by statute that you had to have it advertised in 2 consecutive weeks in a publication in general circulation within the county, which the Dixie Advocate is. You will see the copies of the property appraiser's information and their warranty deeds, special warranty deeds to the subject property. And you'll see on there a copy of the aerial photograph, which is hooked to the property appraiser's website. There's a lot of documentation for a simple process that has to be done to comply with Florida statute. I'll shorten my presentation and be happy to answer any questions that you might have, if any. If not, we can hear from Mr. Bond or Mr. and Ms. Kite if the board so chooses.
Good. Anybody got any questions?
This isn't the first time the board's run up against this. And it's a frustrating situation for the property owner.
I think we sent a letter asking the
We
state
did.
to reconsider and they haven't changed.
And no action.
No.
But it's affecting everyone throughout the state, and it's really not called for because we have a process in planning and zoning in Gilchrist County. It's called a lot combination followed by a recorded unity of title. And if you've got a half an acre and another half an acre and another, you got an acre and a half for the 3 of them. And that unity of title says it'll only be utilized as 1 unit. So you got the whole acre and a half, but no, they want you to go have a surveyor describe it, survey it, and give them a meets and bounds legal description before they'll proceed with the septic tank application.
I think what I heard, Bobby, isn't DEP gonna take the lead on septic tank? I'd heard DOH is gonna lose it, DEP is gonna gain it. We might try again with DEP, the leadership there, and see if, they might be willing to consider changing it, make it easier for lot owners. You're correct on that. DEP is doing, they've already taken a few counties over in the Panhandle. They'll be sort of bypassing us and going to Marion County when they get here, and then they're probably gonna come back to some of the smaller counties. But haven't heard any pros or cons yet on the program of how well it's working or how well it's not working. But yes, that will be happening here.
Caitlin, can you go to page 42 of the staff report just real quick? Yeah, can you make it larger? Yeah, that's the survey of the Cots property right there, the property they're asking to be vacated. You'll see 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40, and you'll see the, location of the, improvement that they're putting on the property there. That entire parcel is going, or all those parcels are going to be vacated and returned to one meets and bounds legal description for the 7+ acres. And this is up at Rock Bluff, just for anyone that's not familiar, that's called Swanee River Highlands subdivisions. This is the third edition up there. And I'm sure if Mr. Bond has anything to say, he'd step up and say it unless you have questions for him.
Public participation.
Okay, that was Tommy Bond for the record. I would offer that into the record as our staff report exhibit 2 for identification by the county, Mr. Clerk.
Motion to approve
Public participation.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, hold on, lost my resolution. 2025 17, by Commissioner Thomas, and second by Commissioner Martin. And is there any public comment? I see none. I had a question real quick, Pete. I've been looking through it at home, and I've seen something here. On Schedule A, I don't know what page number it is, but page 5 of 10, it's talking about Ameris Bank, and you said they wrote a letter, but it says the title is at the commencement date vested in David Henry Philpott, Elizabeth M. Philpott is.
Yeah, that was when they were purchasing the property, and that's what Mr. Bond included. Since then, they've given us a title policy that shows it's vested in the title.
Okay,
That's when you're going to buy a piece of property, they'll tell you what has to be done to perfect title in you, and that's who owned it at the time.
mhm,
And that shows up on the commitment, and then once you record the deed, it comes out and they write you a final title insurance policy,
okay,
okay?
okay.
And I've reviewed the title policy and I'm satisfied.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Okay. I'm gonna deliver this down.
Okay, we have another one at, 4:30. That's ordinance 2506, 2025-06.
Is that me again?
Yes, sir. I guess, you're probably one.
No, this is,
One noise ordinance.
yeah. Well, you'll see from the agenda, that this is simply a formality to conform to prior action of the board and pass these, a couple of ordinances by, motion, and to correct our, code of ordinances. When I was looking back through my paperwork on my desk, I thought we ought to go ahead and have this officially, formally approved by the board so we can get it in the book correctly. It's in the minutes already, as I state, but, ordinance number, 2025-06 is an ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, amending chapter 38, article 5, section 38-125 of the Code of Ordinances of Gilchrist County entitled Noise Control, repealing any conflicting ordinance or ordinances, providing for severability, providing instructions to the codifier, and providing an effective date. That's reading by title only. And what that does to the existing ordinance, we added just a couple of things. The fines are the same, that were initially written, but we added plus any applicable court costs to each of those fines, which is only in keeping with the $100, $250, $350, that sort of thing, plus what the clerk charges to handle county ordinances for, the board. And the one change that I think, Bobby has suggested that, Sheriff Schultz had agreed to at the time was on page 2, if a noise level is found to be in violation of this article, the enforcement agent used to be mandatory. They wanted that changed to, and I underlined it, may at their discretion give a warning. Then at number 3, we struck the word if and said when the warning is given, if the excessive noise is not eliminated or abated, then the sheriffs or the deputies can write a ticket for that violation. With those changes, that's the only changes to the existing ordinance that we have.
I have a question, Mr. Lang. I think we talked about this before. The amounts of the fines, the enforcement is by statute. Could we go stricter, I guess, is what I'm wondering. The 100, 250, 350, 500.
Yes, on that's your ordinance. You could go stricter on those if you chose to do
I'm
it.
just, the sheriff's office has taken time to go out and it's at their discretion. I just think we ought to go from 100 to something more because they're busy doing things, and if somebody's just basically throwing their nose up that, ignoring it, then it might get their attention if it's more. And I don't know how the rest of the board feels, or even the sheriff's office about that, but just a thought.
The habitual offenders is the
Yeah.
ones you need to
Yeah.
address. If he does what he's supposed to on the first offense, that's fine, but
Yeah.
if they just keep
Keep
on
on.
and on and on, I agree, it ought to be a lot higher.
Well, is that 100 plus the 250? So it's actually they're paying
No,
fines up to 350?
No. First time, $100 plus all applicable court costs. Second offense, $250 plus applicable court costs. Like, that's the way it runs down that list each time. And that's been in effect a long time, long before I came here, those fines. And this is one of those few ordinances that you can change because we're gonna get to one on, animal control you can't change because it's statutory. The legislature says what you can charge on others, but this is yours.
How long do they have to pay that fine?
Todd?
It's usually 30 days.
30 days? And if they don't?
If they don't, then,
Our only means is
Are we
collection.
cheap, are we higher
Don't
or
really
cheaper
have-
than other counties, I wonder?
I don't know the answer to that. Do you, Bobby?
What's that?
Are we higher or lower than other counties on this?
I'm still couldn't hear you, Todd. I'm sorry.
Are we higher or lower than other counties?
I would have to look at other counties. I don't know the answer to that. You're talking about going out and giving somebody a warning. If you have to go back, I mean, just a suggestion would be, in most cases, people are gonna get a warning, which is fair. But if you have to go back, maybe your 250 should be your first offense, not 100. And then maybe you got a second one that's a 500 and a third one's a court date. If you can do that. The
Yeah.
best thing that could happen to us is to go to court, because as Mr. Newton stated, the way these are written, we could send it to small claims or a collection agency, but that's probably the extent.
Well, I just pulled up the ordinance. It says, the county commission may institute any appropriate action or proceeding, including suit for injunctive relief in order to prevent or abate violations of this article.
Yeah.
And then after that, it says a willful violation of any provision of this article shall constitute a misdemeanor of the second degree punishable as provided by law. So, I mean, those are what's written in your ordinance as far as enforcement ability.
And we could take these a little more aggressive as we get them, or we see that they're not getting paid.
Mhm.
But, I don't wanna have noise. I like it quiet. But if I was having a big party and you come out and told me it's gonna cost me $100 to keep doing what I'm doing, I might just keep doing what I'm doing.
Take up a collection and pay it and keep going.
But if the first one comes out and you tell me it's $250, I may start telling people they need to leave. you know, kind of zeal too, so, but
Well, the other thing is, the sheriff's office is the enforcement agency, and we don't want them having to go out. I mean, we got Deputy Sanders here, maybe you don't provide some input on this, but I just don't think we want to be sending our law enforcement. You got plenty of other things to do, I think, rather than going out there 4 or 5 times to somebody.
Well, now it says this article may be enforced by way of Gilchrist County code enforcement procedures.
Well, the people are gonna be gone. That's what people forget about
Yeah.
too. When the violations occur and if they don't respond to the sheriff, and he said, I'll be back in half an hour if it's still going on and write you a ticket. If he doesn't come back, they're gone. And if he doesn't write the ticket right then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But really Bobby's right. If they don't realize they're disturbing the peace for everybody, they ought to be given a warning. But, I mean, they go stand on the hill for 10 minutes and see if they turned it down, and if they didn't, then you could write them a ticket. When this goes to county court, though, the maximum fine's gonna be $500 anyway.
but the thing
You
about it.
can't charge them $500 though, if that's what it's gonna be if they go to court. So-
Right, right. But the good thing is if it goes to court, then the judge can put a certain different type, what's the term, sentencing or whatever on them. Todd, I don't know if that'd be the proper term, or requirements of the offense. They can make them do community service. They can make them do a lot of different things. And then if they don't follow what the judge says, then they can go to jail.
I think that's
Well-
part of the problem though, is the collection part of it. You say, okay, I'm gonna fine you $100, $250. When and how do they collect it? And do we collect it? If
Why
you
don't you,
don't collect it, I mean, you set a fine at $10,000, they ain't gotta pay it.
Well, I think that it would be up to the county to, and that's basically what your ordinance is saying, that the county may institute appropriate action or proceeding. So basically, if they don't pay it, then you could potentially pursue it further, but you're gonna have to take them to court.
that's right.
Would that be small claims?
It would be.
What is the fee for small
Would be.
claims? You know, roughly? On a $250 ticket.
It's all over the place. Todd's got a chart there.
Yeah.
And It's 10%,
Absolutely.
it's the fine plus 10%, and then there's some other charges that go along with that.
But the other thing to this is, if somebody is continuing to offend, I mean, if you continue down further in this section of the ordinance, it says that the following procedures shall be followed by the enforcement agent when enforcing this article. If you go all the way to the last part of that, it says if the excessive noise is not eliminated or abated within a reasonable time after warning, a citation may be issued, or the person in possession or control of the cause of the excessive noise may be arrested. So, I mean, there is, if you've got somebody that's just really being, in a single event, if they're continuing to,
What I'm saying, Todd, is
Cause
they
action.
shouldn't have to go out there 4 times to get to that point. I mean, we ought to.
Yeah.
They got better things, I think, they ought to be doing.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Fines ought to be as much as possible to get their attention.
Why don't you go, strike that first, go $300, $400, and $500 fines, or arrest for second degree misdemeanor for violation?
Yeah.
That would make, then I'd put that language, it's on page 2 and number 3, and clarify that would be, that's second degree misdemeanor, 60 days in the county jail, or a $500 fine, or both. Believe that's right.
That would get their attention.
Yeah.
They have to spend time in jail.
Well, they get a fine, and they next time they get a bigger fine, and the third time the cop just might arrest them and they
Yeah.
fine and the other.
Any way you can get their attention. I don't have a problem with somebody that goes along with what we try to do. It's like animal control. If you participate and do your part and do what you say you're gonna do, I don't have a problem with that. It's the ones that just ignore every rule we got and just dare you to do something different. And those are the people that, it's like the noise. We've had so many people here complaining about noise, and it just seems like it goes on and on and on and on. When you get in their pocketbook or put them in jail, you might get their attention.
Yeah, what you have before you, Mr. Langford, is the exact ordinance that's been carried forward for many, many, many years, even with the fines, with the exception we added court costs to each one of those fines. And if this board right now we've advertised the title on it, chooses to amend the fines, and make it a second degree misdemeanor, at the discretion of the officer, we can certainly clear that up right quick, and that would be the one that you sign if that board
I'd
passes.
agree with that myself.
So go over what A, B, C, and D would be now, if you'll.
I'd say first offense, 300.
Okay. Now, this does not mean the first time they go out there. Or does
No,
it?
they want to get,
Well,
no,
first time's really,
Right.
they have to give them a warning.
they give them one before they
Okay.
get to the first offense.
That's
All
right.
right, so first offense, $300.
Second offense is 400.
Well, I was just suggesting, it's up to the board, but y'all seem to be inclined that that was too little, and I tend to agree.
Let's go to
Yeah.
500 or,
Do
500,
500, yes.
and then the
and then
third
next one, the
offense,
rest.
jail time.
Could be a risk.
Well, we ask, and I mean, I don't, not take, say we've done this purposely, but I believe if I was an officer, and I've never been one, so I'm just gonna speak it. If you ask me to go and do something, it's like anything you do, you gotta give me the tools to be able to do it with also. So, if all I can do is go out there and give somebody a ticket and drive off and they know, oh, I ain't never paid one, I ain't gotta pay it anyway, what's the big deal? We're not helping them be able to do their job either, and like you said, now we've got an officer just has to continue going out there. And at this point, they would have the tools to, we can keep coming, but you can go, and just to be clear, I mean, I'm not sure the way this is written, it'd be up to the officer. He can go out and give a warning, but if they give them a lot of like, I'm not turning this down, I don't care if you give me a warning. Well, at that point, the warning may be a $300 fine before you drive off. So it doesn't necessarily mean you might leave. I think that the way we did this, it's at the judgment of that officer. And these always are gonna happen from 10 to 6.
Yeah.
10 PM to 6 AM. So that's when it's gonna be at that
And
officer's
some more, and
discretion.
another part of this ordinance is the fact that the sheriff's department, they didn't have any discretion in this thing.
Right, now they
As
do.
far that, now they do have some discretion. It just says they shall give a warning and they shall arrest them. Well, they didn't like that, and I don't blame them. There might be different circumstances that you have to use your judgment. But
And I think it's important that the officer tells them, if I come back, this is what you're gonna get next time I come back. Because like Commissioner Smith said, you don't need to keep coming back and him,
I got a question, or
sure.
clarification on my
Please.
sister cross potential. Sergeant Sanders, Gilchrist County Sheriff's Office, the first time we go, we can write a ticket based on that, because it says it's up to the discretion of the officers. If I go and I don't want to give a warning, I can go straight to the ticket book. So I don't have to give a warning, not based on the way the wording changed, right or wrong?
Right,
That's right.
that's
So
right.
giving
That's
any
correct.
verbal warnings is, I can't say what the other 6 officers on shift would do, but if I go, I might say, you know what, I'm gonna give you a warning, turn it down. I realize you made a mistake, because most of our noise complaints are, man, I didn't realize it was after 10, I'm sorry, I'll turn it back.
That's your discretion.
So that's the way it is now, right?
The way it's
No.
worded, I can write a ticket regardless. If I don't wanna give them a warning,
Well,
I'm
that's
sorry,
exactly-
you didn't know it was 10 o'clock, I'm writing you a ticket. That's the way it's worded, right?
let's
Right.
read
There
it.
won't be no warning. I mean, there can be a warning, but that don't mean we have to give. them.
No, if someone goes out there and they're
Right.
belligerent and they're giving you trouble, I expect you to
Well, I
to
mean.
lay the
Yeah,
hammer
but
down.
one cop may think
Yeah, I don't base
differently
my
than another.
decisions on their behavior, I base it on the violation that occurred, which was the noise ordinance, I'm gonna write you a citation.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there should be a warning first, that's just me.
I think.
And that's 99 out of 100, that's what'll happen.
Yeah.
Give them a warning, turn it down.
I'd leave it up to the discretion of the officer. If he cusses
I think
you out,
that's-
does all that kind of stuff, give him a fine.
If sometimes we get talked to ugly, I mean, I'm not saying that's part of our job, but we don't base our decision on how they talk to us.
Right.
I mean, they can cuss and fuss, and I'm either gonna warn you or write you a citation, but I never allow their behavior to dictate how I'm gonna treat it.
No, I understand that, but if you have the discretion to do whichever one you want,
Right.
you're probably gonna give him a warning, the next guy may.
That's what I was trying to clarify.
But no, number three is specific on what you're saying, exactly. It says when a warning is given.
Right.
If the excessive noise is not eliminated or abated within a reasonable time after warning, a citation can be issued, or means you can arrest them.
Right. I just didn't want a citizen come and say, well, he didn't give me a warning, he just straight me
300 or whatever y'all decide on the first offense ticket was, well, yeah, you did, because that's what's in the ordinance, it's very clear.
Yeah, Tracy, I think probably, you, the sheriff, will have a discussion with everybody about how we be consistent. And
Right, and
y'all-
it's pretty, we all know summertime's a little more noisier than any other time, because people say that, summer parties and there's graduation parties, but I would feel comfortable saying 95% of the people in noise complaints, it's just, man, I didn't realize it was after 10, I'll turn it down, I'm sorry, but
Right.
every now and then you run into that one, is, well, we gonna party,
no matter what.
hey, you asked for it.
I understand what you're saying, but
The majority is very understanding.
but at the same time, I want you to have the
Right.
authority to do what you think you need to do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, so we get this right when y'all pass this motion. First offense, 300, second offense, 400, third offense, $500. Discretionary with the officer after he gives a warning as to whether to issue a citation or to arrest for a second degree misdemeanor.
So 3, 4, and 5, and then arrest. Or maybe could arrest after,
Well, I don't think you gotta put in there that D that says, each additional offense, $500 plus,
No.
we were gonna put in there second degree misdemeanor. It's already in there on page 2. If the officer gives the warning and they don't adhere to the warning, they have the discretion to issue a citation or to arrest. And the arrest is a second degree misdemeanor. That's in the jurisdiction of the county court.
I think that's good myself. Maybe it'll cut down on
For-
some of
for
it.
Well, it's an improvement over what you've had for the last.
yeah.
For clarification, Mr. Lang, are you also including the plus all applicable court costs as well?
Do what, Todd?
Yeah.
Are you also including the plus all applicable court costs as well?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
If I don't, your office will get on to me. We'll put those court costs in there.
Do we need to make those into the form of a motion?
Please. Oh, yes, sir. This is an ordinance and you have to do it. by
All
motion.
right. I move that we, amend the ordinance to say that first offense is $300, second offense is $400. Third offense is $500. And that after the first offense,
After the warning,
after the warning, the law officer has the
discretion,
to, arrest, or is that,
or issue a citation.
or issue a citation?
Yeah, they're gonna have the discretion to issue a citation, or if they're belligerent, they could, arrest.
Yeah, citation
based
or
on warning.
arrest.
Second. Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Martin and a second by Commissioner Thomas to, change the noise ordinance. First offense, 300, second, 400, third, 500. After a warning, the officer at his discretion can issue a citation or make an arrest. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
I'm also gonna be filing just for, courtesy, to avoid, any procedural issue, something called a business impact, estimate for ordinance number 2025-06. It has no direct impact on any business. It only has a impact on the violator.
You know, do we approve the ordinance as amended?
Your motion said that you are amending that
Yeah.
ordinance.
Okay.
Right, you made your motion.
That's right. With those numbers.
So ordinance 2025-06 did pass.
Did pass with the amendment.
That is
Okay.
correct. Got that, Ms. Karen? Okay.
Okay, we have another one at, 445. Ordinance 2507.
We did. Well, we know we voted on the amendment, but we didn't vote on the motion to approve ordinance 25-2006.
No, you made a motion to approve
And
with
that
those
means
changes.
I made a motion to amend it, and we voted just then on the amendment. We didn't really vote on on the ordinance. Is that correct, or is my parliamentary procedure wrong?
No, I think you're probably correct.
Okay.
It can't hurt.
Voted on the motion to amend this ordinance, but we have never voted on this ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah, I would
So-
just make a motion to.
So I
approve
make
the
a motion
ordinance.
to approve ordinance 2025-06.
I thought we already had a motion for that.
Wait,
Now,
but
we
you're gonna
have a
approve,
motion to amend it. We
but
can-
now you're gonna make a motion to approve
Now to approve the order.
with the, as amended.
As amended.
Yeah, I second that motion.
Okay, so we now have another motion to approve ordinance 2025-06 with the amendment.
Yes.
It's had a motion by Mr. Commissioner Martin and a second by Commissioner Smith. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, you need to go? No. I got 45 minutes. Okay.
I do.
I thought we had a motion, I thought Kendrick made it, you seconded it. Okay. He made a motion, I seconded it. Yeah.
But-
That was on the minutes, okay. We stand as corrected. Okay, Mr. Lang, we have, ordinance number 2025-07.
That is correct. Ordinance number 2025-07 is an ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, amending chapter 14, article 2, division 2, subdivision 2, section 14-92 of the Code of Ordinances of Gilchrist County, entitled Adoption and Redemption of Animals, repealing any conflicting ordinance or section of ordinances, providing for severability, providing instructions to the codifier, and providing an effective date. That's reading by title only. And what had been done, again, this was passed by motion for the board. We're cleaning up our Code of Ordinance book. What the suggestion was at the time that you passed this, there was a minimum of 5-day holding period for animals, and that was requested to be reduced to 3 days to exclude Sunday. Before it included Saturday, Sunday, and legal holidays, and that's what you had done, and that's what this ordinance does. And that's reading by title only.
And you said that the animal control is Florida statute as far as fines and stuff?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah. 'Cause-
Absolutely, and that's gonna be coming up to you. We've got another ordinance that's gonna be coming in July that's gonna clarify those animal control, fines, along with some litter violation fines. There's about 3 things that are statutory. Ms. Tammy Hale gave me the list, and we weren't gelling with the fees as they were broken out of Mr. Newton's office with our ordinances. So we did that ordinance. I sent Bobby a copy, Todd a copy, Ms. Hale, Ms. Tammy Hale, over at Todd's office, and she's the only one commenting back on it. And she made one little change, and she was correct. But that's animal control the fines are controlled by Florida statute.
Well, now, I sat down and talked with Bob because we talked about it in a meeting or so ago, and I got a copy of the rules and regulations and some, I guess, proposed changes, Bobby. Cause some of them's in red and some of them's in green, but anyway, I've got some stuff I wanna address. Is that something I need to sit down with you and Bobby and
You can,
see if my changes are legal, or can
Yeah.
we pass them and you make them legal? Tell me what.
yeah,
No, I just got some things that I wanna suggest that we make changes, but if we got a meeting coming up on that, I guess then would be the time to do it. But I need to get with you sometime, cause
we
I
do
got,
need to get together. Maybe me and you and Bobby can get together.
that would be good, that would be good. I'll be leaving Wednesday to go on vacation, but when I get back, I'll get with y'all and I can
See-
go over what I'm gonna suggest to the board.
The ordinance that I'm talking about is gonna deal with the fines. It's
Okay.
not gonna deal with the procedure.
Okay. Well,
You know what I'm
mine,
saying?
mine deals with both,
Okay,
my suggestion.
all right.
Mhm.
But
Because
like
I
I
sat
say,
down and talked with Erica and them, and then I sat down and talked with Bobby a little bit, but I just think there's some things that we can do a little bit different, and one of them would be what we just did with the noise thing.
Mhm.
Make the fines a little stiffer, make things a little different, get people's attention. But I'll get with you and Bobby when I get back, and we'll go over that.
Okay.
And then we'll bring it to the board.
and litter was the second thing. There's litter and less than 15 pounds and animal control.
Well, there again, and in talking with them, especially with Erica, about 80% of our people will comply. They will do what we ask them to do. But that 20% is the ones that just keep causing problems. And we've got to put some teeth in it to where we can deal with it. And we have some. I think our policies are good. I like almost every one of them. I just think there's a few things that we could change to make it easier on our animal control people and better for the resident. And that's dealing with the habitual offenders that just keep on,
Yeah.
turning their head and not, won't do nothing.
Right.
Those are the ones we need to deal with. And I do have some suggestions. I'll get with y'all, we'll
Okay.
address it then.
Okay, you need a motion to
Absolutely.
approve ordinance, so I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2025-07.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion for Commissioner Smith and a second for Commissioner Sharon Langford to approve ordinance number 2025-07. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
And again, for the record, I'm filing a business impact estimate on ordinance number 2025-07, just as a courtesy, not that it affects, any businesses, but just procedurally, so we've got it on the record.
Okay, I have another one at 5 o'clock and it's 5:01, so we'll do the, ordinance 2025-05 and LDC 2025-01, Land Development Code Amendment. And I think we have a visitor to address that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing, Mr.
How are you, sir?
Good.
Again, this is quasi judicial hearing. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do.
The staff member has been duly sworn. Does anybody have any, when he gets into this, does it have any conflicts of interest or ex parte communications that you need to disclose on the record? If you do so when he reads his title of his presentation.
Yes, I'm getting in, Brandon Stowe with North Florida Professional Services, acting on behalf of the county. Good to see all y'all's faces this evening, and, excuse me if I sound a little nasally, I'm getting over a head cold, but I promise you I'm not contagious. Going around, but, as y'all will recall, we had, the P and Z in the first hearing of this ordinance last month, and y'all voted as the planning and zoning board to adopt it, and then y'all did the first reading of the ordinance, which is, ordinance 2025-05, and, at this time, if this commission's wishes, I would like to read ordinance 2025-05 by title only. Ordinance number 2025-05, an ordinance of Gilchrist County, Florida, amending ordinance number 93-01, Gilchrist County Land Development Code as amended, relating to an amendment to the text of the Gilchrist County Land Development Code pursuant to an application LDC 2025-01 by the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners, recommending to the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County amending section 7.01 entitled Accessory Uses and Structures, providing for severability, fulfilling all ordinances in conflict, and for providing for an effective date. And this is the second and final reading of ordinance 2025-05. I won't go over this in great detail since we've already been through it twice. Or actually more than that, but last hearing we went through it twice. So the major considerations of this ordinance is one, to allow accessory uses before a primary use and structure in certain zone districts, which would be like your agricultural 2, 3, 4, 5, on lots that are greater than 5 acres. And then within the environmentally sensitive area 2 or Ag 2 land uses, it's within 1,320 feet of a riverfront property, or along the Santa Fe or Swanee rivers. The other thing was we moved some areas where we defined some setbacks to allow accessory uses in the front side of waterfront yards not less than 5 feet, or not located on the rear less than 5 feet for the rear lot line. Again, we added a caveat that the maximum amperage for any accessory uses would be 60 amps if it doesn't have like a primary use, if they're applying for this as a accessory use prior to a primary use, so we limit it to 60 amps. And the last thing, which is basically kind of a notice to the applicants that there are additional state regulations that the federal regulations that may apply
whether it be through, FEMA or for the building code or ASC 24. It's just kind of put them on notice that, hey, just because you're allowed to do this, there might be additional regulations that you have to apply by, especially if you're talking about river lots or within the floodway and things like that. But this was, again, second final reading of the ordinance 2025 and 5, and, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If not, then, I'll just turn it over to public comment.
Yeah, Brandon, now, somebody would still have to make a permit application for this. It would just be an allowable use, and they would get that notice of checking with the water management district or whoever.
Correct.
Make
yeah,
sure,
yeah,
okay.
So they would,
Yep.
so that would be probably something when we develop this application for a permit for accessory structure or something. We'll have like, maybe we got wording on the permit application that says, no, be sure and ensure that you check with these agencies prior to construction to make sure you don't need additional permitting. Obviously, if we're reviewing the permit and we see it's in a flood zone or floodway, we might say, hey, you're gonna have to abide by additional standards here, so we can notify them of that. So there will be a double layer there of review. One, hopefully, to kind of pre-warn the applicant, but two, once the application's been made, once we review it and see that it's in the floodway, flood zone, and, any other kind of thing like that, that we may have to find additional regulations that we have to abide by.
Okay, any more discussion?
And for the record, none of the board members had any conflict on this presentation. Thank you.
I'll turn it over to the public comment.
Okay, is there any public comment? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve ordinance 2025-05.
Second. Okay, I have a, motion by Commissioner Martin to approve ordinance number 2025-05 and a second by Commissioner, Kendrick Thomas. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Thank you, board.
Thank you, sir.
And for the record, I took the liberty to prepare a business impact statement for that ordinance, which I don't think it has any effect on any business, but just procedurally to avoid any procedural issue that might arise, we're filing that as well. So that'll be the third one I'll be giving to the clerk.
Okay. So that takes care of the affidavit, second reading and everything. All right, we have another at 5:15, but we got about 5 minutes, so Mr. Bobby, would you like to continue?
Yes, sir. One of the next items I have here is for Hart Springs. It's a, task order with North Florida Professional Services. If you remember, we just recently, it may have been at the last meeting actually, that we approved a grant from FWC for, adding on, some bank stabilization as well as some, a dock for parking, your boat at the Hart Springs. And, for them to help manage this grant, monitor the construction, help with the reporting, be $16,745.74. This is an amount that is allowed within the grant and is grant funded as well. Also, I'm gonna ask Caitlin to put up a photo. Miss Sharon, I think it may have been you last time, that asked roughly kinda, and this, we'll get a better photo, but where that would be. This is your boardwalk here. And then you would have, this would be a walkway out. If you've ever been down the boardwalk or paid much attention, a few places, it's got like a little area you can step out kind of. And then this will be a floating dock where people can park and come in. So for people in the audience, this was our current boardwalk and this would be the new.
The boats will not be able to run, go up in the run anymore?
They'll be able to go to the same place they can now.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Run now. We can block the run off.
Well, we could add, we have an exclusion zone that the board got years ago that they can only come so far in
Same far.
for safety of the swimmers. It may come up, it's been mentioned to me in the past a couple of times, just when by some of the, people who study the different changes in the bull. As you know, we used to have Big Heart and we had Little Heart that both flowed real good. Well, Big Heart doesn't flow as good as it used to, and Little Heart still flows well. You know, there may be a day that they move that exclusion zone out and say, you can come in with a canoe or, you know, something that's not motorized, but you can't come in with a motorized boat.
So they walk then to the park, they just go to the store like we do now to get our armband to
Yes,
take,
ma'am.
yeah.
But, you know, if you've ever, I don't know, it kind of, yes, sir. No, I don't mind.
I was gonna say, because I've been involved with this grant from the beginning, some of the stuff that we had discussed with FWC and what FWC wanted is exactly what you're talking about. They want the boats out of the spring completely, so there've been talks with FWC about that, about blocking it off at the very front. That's the whole reason why they wanted that dock out there, so all the boats can dock out there and walk to the spring, and then we can block it off to take the spring camp. But we'll have more discussion.
To get people used to parking out there first and then.
Yeah. And to see, really, that run is not controlled by Hart Springs. It is controlled by FWC. So if FWC wanted to block it off, they could block it off today, even without a parking area. So, that is
But just
controlled.
allow people to pull up there, park their boat, get out, walk the board.
Oh, yeah.
And all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Without
Well,
having to.
And
go
get out
down
and
to
walk
the
up
other
and
end.
down the run. They can walk in, you know, if the run's low enough, you can walk in and out of the run. You can do it however you want to.
So it's my understanding that's the extent of FWC, we can block that off.
I knew FWC had talked to me about that in the past, but I didn't realize they had brought it up during this grant discussion.
But like you said, the people who rent the kayaks can still kayak out.
My understanding when they talked to me, their concern was with motorized boats, and that's
Okay.
it. They're not, they're all for canoes,
Yeah.
kayaks, the board, the paddle boards and that type of thing. They're all for that. That's what they wanna see and wanna do, so,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so, but that's kind of where we're at on that. So just with approval of this task order, then they'll be able to help assist us with the grant. They actually, we had a grant that they assist us with to get this grant, that they did all the design with, and this will be the grant for the build.
How many boats do you think we could park there?
It really
Go back to the
depends on how
big a
courteous the boat and driving the car.
Well, there's multiple factors, how they park, if it's.
Yeah, well, what's that? Yeah.
So if they pull in straight and come in, that's 100 foot long, so that would come in quite a bit of boat.
Okay.
If they come in there and park sideways, and it's a 20 foot boat, you're talking about maximum 5 boats, but, we all know sometimes you can go in there and there's 20 boats in the spring run. But, the goal would be that, you know, if you have boats on the end, boats on the front, that they're parked like straightforward, then, you know, we should be able to, you know, park the boat.
good way.
Yeah, be good.
At least 10, I would think.
And just down from that is, they've got a ramp with the boat ramp too, don't they?
Yeah.
Place, yeah, so the boat ramp's right just down just a little bit from that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Brandon, I guess the design is taking into consideration the current and the flow, and I can see pulling in there, if you're not careful, it's gonna, it will be difficult, because some of these boat ramps, they're difficult.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on some of these, actually the one that's just north of there, about 5 or 6 miles north on the right-hand side. And you're trying to go in, the river's so
Your
strong.
landing, that's what I think
Yeah,
about.
you're actually doing like this, and then you gotta turn at the last minute and get on there, else you're gonna be parking your boat sideways on them. But yeah, I mean, the river's gonna be flowing, so if you're looking at that picture, the river's flowing this way for us. You know, that's close to the shore, so it's not like a high floor. I mean, it's a wider part of the river, so it's not flowing as hard as some of the narrow parts, but you know, it's still gonna be flowing to the south, and, so if you're parking straight up against it, it's gonna wanna push your tail end around, but
Most definitely. It'd be hard to park straight on and leave it there, because the flow's gonna take you sideways.
yeah. So it'd be, hopefully people will have bumpers and be able to park next to each other with bumpers, and, it may not be, I mean, one of the things where, unless you're gonna build a huge dock that's very elaborate, where you come back around and pull in and have a bay, very expensive, very costly, it'd be hard to get permitted because we stick out in the river very far. Not the best you can really do without, one, you don't wanna tear up the shore, so you wanna be far enough out, for boats, don't come in tearing up the shore, or when it's going up and down, it's gonna tear up the shore. And we get that gateway as far out as possible away from the shore too.
Thank you, Brandon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I make a motion, we approve the task work order, with North Florida Professional Services for, this project at Art.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Sharon Linger to approve the task work order for professional services, and the grant for a flat rate of $16,745.74. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay.
Our next item, I believe we have a.
5:15.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5:15 time certain, and that's, SUP 2025-01 and SP 2025-01 for Fowler Boat Ramp. Mr. Justin Tabor will be presenting that. For those who have not met, Justin, he's enjoyable to work with. He works with, North Florida professionals. As they've grown, they've added some people. He's got a very extensive background in planning, and a lot of other things, but he's been very helpful and been very good to work with. So he also works with Brandon and them, and this particular one was his project. So he gets to present it.
Before we begin, this again is a quasi judicial hearing because it's site specific. If any board member has a conflict of interest or has had, communications, ex parte communications with the applicant or the owner, need to disclose that on the record to remove any presumption of prejudice.
I just got a letter because I'm, on land across from the county.
You got a disclosure letter of the public hearing because
Yes, sir.
you're within so many feet.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Tabor will present his, staff report, questioning if you need to, and then you'll have public comment following that.
You want to be sworn in, or?
You want to go be sworn?
Yes, sir.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, witness has been duly sworn.
Good evening, members of the dais. Mr. Crosby, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. Happy to be here with you all this evening and happy to be presenting to you for the first time, hopefully of many times. So, as Mr. Crosby mentioned, my name is Justin Tabor with North Florida Professional Services. This presentation will cover two items on the agenda this evening. Well, one agenda item, but two applications, I should say. The first is a special use permit, which is SUP 2025-01. The second application is a site plan, SP 2025-01. The application is, both applications are petitions by Elizabeth McAllister, EI of JD Pro, or J. Brown Professional Services Incorporated. These are submitted on behalf of Vision Construction Inc. The proposed development includes a 122 stall RV and boat storage facility. You may recall in November 2023, there was a special use permit that was issued for a portion of the subject property. But subsequent to that approval, the owner acquired an adjacent parcel and has come back in with an amended site plan to include that property. There will be no enclosed buildings or canopies proposed by the applications. All storage will occur outdoors. To provide screening of the outdoor storage areas, the applicant is proposing a 6-foot wooden fence along the project's boundaries. There would be one stormwater basin on the site, primarily to the east of the designated storage areas. Access to the site would be provided by a connection to Southeast 80th Avenue. This is currently an unimproved road. And as you'll recall at your last meeting, you accepted or you authorized moving forward to for the owner to deed the 50-foot right-of-way that's adjacent on their property to you. They would also be improving the access to Southeast 80th Avenue as part of this application. The zoning of the subject property is A2, agricultural 2. Down to page 5, that would be good. This use is permitted by special use permit within the A2 district as a self-service storage facility. On to the next page, the surrounding uses. To the north is State Road 26. North of State Road 26 are vacant lands, currently with a land use designation of commercial. To the south, there is a single-family residence with an A2 zoning. To the east are vacant lands zoned A2, and to the west is the Hitching Post Package and Lounge, as well as vacant lands with a commercial land use designation. The applications have been reviewed for consistency with the comprehensive plan. The applicant has provided an analysis, which includes goals, objectives, and policies from the future land use element, the transportation element, sanitary sewer, solid waste, drainage, potable water, and natural groundwater aquifer recharge element, as well as the capital improvements element. Staff finds the application to be consistent with your comprehensive plan. The standards for approval of a special use permit are found within section 12.03.03 subsection C of the Gilchrist County Land Development Code. The application for the special use permit has been reviewed for compliance with these standards and is found to be in compliance with all applicable standards. Section 12.02.10 of your land development code sets forth the standards for site plan approvals, and this application is found to be consistent with those standards. Regarding environmental conditions, there are no concerns regarding any environmental features. Moving on to public facilities, the proposed development would have impacts to just transportation facilities. There would be no impacts to solid waste, or I'm sorry, to sanitary sewer or potable water. Those connections would not be provided with this project. With respect to traffic, the impacts are acceptable and will not degrade the level of service of any affected roadways.
Will the entrance to that be on the dirt road?
It will be on Southeast 80th, but that will be improved, correct? Yes, sir.
You have to pave that road,
Yes, they will be
not the
paving
whole road, but up to where.
to the south end of their property, correct. Right, so it will be off of 80th Avenue, but it will be paved. And that was, up to county standard as far as pavement width, so it can accept the weight. So our recommendation to you, acting as the planning commission, is to approve the special use permit and the preliminary and final site plan, subject to the conditions in Exhibit A. And I would be happy to answer any other questions that you might have regarding either of the application.
If I may, just about the road, as he stated, it will be paved. But in our last meeting, y'all agreed to accept, part of a road. This is actually, that road that he's paving, that will be paved, was on county property. So that's the road that they're donating also. So they're donating the property, which we're still waiting on the legal description and to finish up the paperwork and the deed on that.
They're gonna pave it before they deed it,
No,
so we don't have the liability while they're paving.
we can make it happen that way. You
I
want to?
think we should do it that
Okay.
way.
Well, when, you have to prepare the deed, so we can. we
And
can
I've been
control
waiting on the information as far as
Yeah.
the legal description.
We can control when that is deeded
Okay.
to us.
Okay.
So that'll be easily controlled. But just so you know.
Because
and-
you're not
and-
gonna be paving it with our county.
No,
people.
no.
So I would rather they take that liability on and then deed it over to us.
So, and yes, as Commissioner Sharon Latham, stated, we've required them to pave it all the way to their ingress egress, which due to the length of the equipment, we've made them put at the back side of the property, pretty much. So, yeah. So there's, I don't know the length of it off the top of my head, but it's a pretty good section right
Several
there.
hundred feet.
Yeah.
As a ballpark, at least. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. The applicant was advised of the hearing this meeting. I'm not seeing anyone present on behalf of the applicant, but happy to answer any questions you might have.
How many storage, do we know how many, I guess, vehicles, items would be stored? I didn't, is that
Yes,
in
sir.
there?
122 days.
122, they're not delineated, but based upon width, that's the estimation, yes, sir.
Okay.
See if there's anyone else in the audience that.
So the buffer will be a fence then, correct?
Correct, they'll have a 6-foot wooden.
Wooden fence, so you won't be able
around
to
the
see what's going on, okay?
Any more discussion from the board? Any public comment? Okay. See you.
And letters were sent out, cause we got ours.
Yes, the public notice was provided, in accordance with the code, which includes the, mail notice, as well as a post notice on site, and a published notice in the newspaper.
And that's the cleared spot right there on 26.
Mhm.
It'll be facing 26 and
Yeah.
clear.
Yes, sir.
Do we need to approve each of these separately or as a group? SUP and the SP? Both 2025-101
Separately.
separately? All right, I move to approve SUP 2025-01.
Second. Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Martin and a second by Commissioner Thomas to approve SUP 2025-01. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Now I entertain a motion for the SP 2025-01.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Sharon Langford and a second by Commissioner Darrell Smith to approve SP 2025-01. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
We need to take off.
None like that. Is that all of them?
That's,
All the time.
that's all this,
All the time, sir?
all the time, sir.
Okay, Bobby, let's go back to you real quick. You can probably finish it up real quick.
You're not missing the graduation, are you, Chairman?
No, I'm gonna have to text my wife and tell her to meet me
Okay.
there a little bit early. I'll turn
I didn't know if you got carried away and forgot.
Yeah, I've offered to take over,
We'll,
but
we'll do that in a
he
minute.
wants to be here.
I got a
if he
few
can.
more. I'll leave it a quarter till. I'll be doing good.
All right, our next item is, the purchase of, playground equipment for the RV park. If you'll note it, we purchased some recently for the, actual Springs Park, which was with a FERDAP grant. This is also with a FERDAP grant, but it has to be designated to be in the RV park. This is actually, all of this equipment here is also ADA. So, you know, we'll be able to, we didn't have any ADA equipment in that park. So the total is $14,950. This is from Playground Boss where we bought last time, and they are members of the SAMS.gov, and we are also members of the SAMS.gov, and they are up to date. They're good through November the 3rd,
No additional cost, Bobby, to the county?
no.
Yeah.
No, we'll be able to install it.
Motion to approve the purchase. Okay, I have a motion
Second it.
by Commissioner Thomas and a second by Commissioner Martin to approve the playground boss quote for Hart Springs. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
My next item is an amendment to the agreement with Soil and Water. Mr. Lang has, reviewed this. If you'll notice, Soil and Water has already executed it. They had it in their meeting, voted and signed and sent it to us. As they've progressed and gotten larger, there's been a little bit of misunderstanding between their employees and the position that the county has with Soil and Water. The county basically just processes payroll. We provide them with a paycheck and benefits, and then we're reimbursed through Soil and Water. So really, we're just for the liaison of the pay part. So some of the employees have wanted to confuse with what their benefits are, who should give them their day-to-day operations, who may be in charge of discipline, terminations, hiring. So this clears it up. One of the statements here says that no employee of Gilchrist County, basically Soil and Water, is an employee of Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners under the supervision of the Board of County Commissioners, are governed by the rules, regulations, and policies of the Board of County Commissioners. So, and another one is that the Gilchrist County Soil and Water has full authority over their employees in all respects to include but not limited to the hiring, retention, promotion, discipline, and termination of the employees. So I think we had a really good agreement with them. It's just kind of grown in that they need a little bit more clarity. that they can provide to their employees, and that's the purpose of this right now.
Bobby, this is like, it's completely passed through from the Department of Agriculture, 200, what is it, 250 or how much thousand? The cost to,
Their last, I don't know the exact cost, I'd have to have the payroll, I think their budget's around 250, 300 a year. They pay 100% of all of the agents. We pay, is it 50/50 on,
I think it's 60/40.
60/40?
60/40.
60/40, that we do have a 40% in their one office staff. is
Right.
all. So,
but they, I know, just experience in the past, they provide, not only technicians and assistants to help farmers with stuff like Tyler was talking about earlier,
yeah,
fertilizer, irrigation, just all kind of stuff, but also the cost share that they get and they provide to help purchase those kind of things is a big benefit to our county. So I think whatever costs we've got, I mean, we would have to consider what costs to get more than that.
we have very
Worth
little
it.
cost in it,
Yeah,
truthfully,
slim.
and they, it's been a win-win. They buy their own vehicles, they pay for their own fuel, they pay, their insurance, and in the past, when they get to a point they don't use the vehicles anymore, if they're still serviceable, they give them to the county. They're in the county, they're already titled to the county for insurance purposes, but then they give those to the county, and we usually place them in service in some of our departments. So it's been a very, it's worked out very well, other than just some housekeeping to help them on their side, so.
But then the claim is made when someone leaves that they were employed by Gilchrist County and not by Soil and Water. And that's what Mr. Lander was attempting to clear up with this latest MOA, is that they're not employees of the county. It's just perfunctory, let's say, or de facto. We're running everything through our departments, but they're actually the employer.
Yeah, and the other thing, the board has some good, I think, progressive young farmers on there that providing leadership. So, I support this and would make a motion, we approve the MOU amendment.
Second. Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner Thomas to approve the, amendment for the, MOA between Gilchrist County and Soil and Water and Gilchrist County, Ada County Commission. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, is that it, Bobby?
Yes, sir, unless you have some questions, I'm sorry, that completes my.
Okay, Mr. Lang, you have anything else?
I think I've completed my duty.
Okay, Mr. Todd?
Yes, sir. First item is a budget recap as of May 28th. For general revenue, we've got year-to-date expenditures, 21,264,000 on revenues of 18,113,000. You will recall, we've transferred, the 3.5 million for the solid waste project. So it's one of the reasons that it looks a little bit, skewed right now. But it's basically in line with where we should be at this point.
Mr. Newton?
Yes.
Just also on that part, I was looking through today, I haven't finalized, but I think we're right at about 1.5 million to 2 million that we'll be submitting also for grant reimbursement.
Yeah.
So,
That's right. In fire, we've had year-to-date expenditures of 845,000 on revenues of 1.6 million. In transportation, we've had year-to-date expenditures of 2,391,000 on revenues of 1,854,000. And as we've mentioned in the past, and we're continuing to watch transportation, a large part of why that one is a little skewed is you did have the large purchases at the beginning of the year. It was around 430,000, I think, in expenses on the, a truck and then 2 dump trucks, right?
Park crusher. So we had the repairs on the crusher,
Mhm.
and then we also had the, repairs out on Addie Jones Road for the culverts that was in excess of $100,000 as well too.
Yeah.
So
but
we've got
the-
around the $850,000 worth of, capital purchase and large repairs.
Yep. But as I mentioned, the big issue, I think, that kind of puts it out is that we had the large equipment purchase, you know, at the beginning of the year, and that kind of skews the, you know, that we had all the expenses on the front end, but
But we'll still be able to stay within budget, we think, Bobby,
Well,
by the end of the year.
I think we're gonna, yes, as long as we don't have anything major tear up right now and we can make it on through, I believe we'll be okay where we're at in our budget. Again, you know, revenues are coming in, but with this type of revenues, as Mr. Newton has spoke before, they keep coming in monthly, so they take a little bit longer. But I think as he said, and, that's one of the things that him and I are gonna need to sit down and probably, and along with our finance staff, and talk about, with those large purchases, how do we wanna handle those? And we'll be doing that probably here pretty soon and talking to the board about that. So,
that's right. Moving on down to EMS, we've had year-to-date expenditures of 1,555,000 on revenues of 2.1 million. We'll say we're starting to see revenues pick up in EMS, which is helpful. In solid waste, we've got year-to-date expenditures of 720,000 on revenues of 1,155,000. So no further questions. Everything does seem to be fairly in line with our current place in the year. Next, there had been some discussion about state revenues versus local revenues. And so we've provided a breakdown of like ad valorem versus like grants and sales tax revenues. So on this slide, you see that for last year, for fiscal year 2024, we had ad valorem of just over 9.4 million, which was about 45% of our revenues in compared to state revenues. So of that, sales tax revenues was about 26%, just over $5.5 million. And grants and other state revenues provided another 29%, just over $6 million. If anyone has any questions on those.
I appreciate you guys putting that together. I think it's good information related to funding our budget. And if, you know, at the state level, they're talking lowering or eliminating property taxes, then I think they would also look for hopefully some alternative source of funding for us small counties that don't have other revenue. And so
I agree.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the work that's put into getting grants.
Yeah.
And the revenue that's brought in for that, and, that helps a whole lot when you can get grants to fund it, and you see there, it's, over a 25%, over 25%, almost 30% of our budget came in from grants, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah, it is important. We couldn't function without them.
Well, the only way we can function is with them.
Correct.
Our level of service would be way, way, way lower if it wasn't.
Yes, sir. That's a fact.
Anything else?
The only other item, just in FYI, I mentioned that you may recall back in March, we had a workshop discussing the possibility of a fire surtax. And I was asked to bring that back in 90 days. So I just wanted to kind of throw it out there that at the July 7th meeting, I'll put that on my agenda for us to discuss again. And the board can decide how we want to proceed. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. And our next meeting would be the June the 23rd. Didn't we move it to the 23rd?
Yes, sir. We have a tentative meeting scheduled for the 23rd, I believe at 2:00, if I remember right. And I believe we were going to do it subject to need. As of right this moment, we don't have any time certain scheduled.
I have nothing at this moment.
So
Karen and I have been coordinating that to try to keep any off the 23rd because we didn't know if we were going to have the meeting. That's also the same day Trenton's holding one right here on that
that's
later
right.
afternoon.
That's right. So as of right now, it is tentatively scheduled still. You know, if, you know, my thoughts were, you know, we're still 3 weeks out. Maybe wait, you know, until we get a little bit closer, just so we know for certain that we don't have anything that's pressing. And, you know, if we don't have something that comes up, then we would just cancel it.
Okay, that's it.
But that's it. Yes, sir.
All right, we're gonna go to commissioner reports. I'm gonna go ahead and do mine, and then I'm gonna turn it over to, vice chair to take over. The Dollar General's open. It's a beautiful store. Yep. Hadn't been there, stop and look at it. It's nice. They've been very, very busy. So I think they opened Wednesday morning, but, it looks good. It'll be a real asset to that end of the county. I went down Gay Road. That looks real good too. They're doing the shoulder work and all now, and they're doing a good job on that. I think we're gonna be happy with it. Karen, I'll have to come sign the papers tomorrow, but you'll let me know. Okay, just text me. And I will be going on vacation Wednesday to Virginia, so I'll be gone a week, but, if you need me or need to get a hold of me for some reason, please let me know. No, I'll turn it over to the vice chair and
All right.
go to my graduation.
All right, well, good luck and congratulations to, the graduate there. Bit milestone in their life for sure. Sharon?
I don't have anything.
All right, Darryl?
Real quick, one of the things, I don't know, did you get a chance to send,
I didn't.
Okay.
I'd like to discuss that too.
Chris Doolin sent out something from, the state of Florida comparing counties' expenses and debt per resident. And, whenever, if you haven't seen it, maybe, Todd or somebody can send it out to everybody, and it'd be something that we can look at to compare. It's some of the similar kind of what Richard has put together for us.
One of the challenges, as I reviewed it,
Okay.
I don't know if I need to contact the state. It seems like their numbers are off.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm kind of trying to figure out where, like, I can see where they got a lot of their information from. In particular on ours, because like I look at it, I can see, okay, this lines up with what we have, you know, presented.
Right.
But some of the numbers don't
You think
seem
the
to,
population is wrong or?
well, some of the populations didn't line up right. Some of the employee numbers didn't seem to make sense, I'll just say.
It's probably good to contact them,
Because
they
they're-
might be using it in the legislative committee.
Yeah, I definitely think it needs to be reviewed because the numbers do not seem to be accurate, in my opinion. Our employee numbers match exactly what we have in our budget. But in comparison with some of the local counties, just didn't make sense.
Okay. What, you can correct that, but what I saw was compared to surrounding counties, our cost per resident was less for expenses by category. Also, our debt pretty much was less, both from the surrounding counties and the state average. So that's good, but there's some other information in there it'd be good to look at, I think. And so hopefully you can verify that. I just wanted to mention the Memorial Day ceremony. Bobby, you all did a good job with that. We appreciate Steve and your group, putting that together.
Steve did probably 75 or 80% of that, so we need to give him credit. And then, a couple of ladies in my office were nice enough to help him out. And then our maintenance kind of got it all cleaned up. So, there were several departments that were involved a lot more than me. Thank you, but they deserve more credit than I do.
The other thing I was gonna mention, I met with Representative Johnson last week, and he actually came to Rotary today and spoke. And, it sounds like the state, Senate, and House have come to some agreement on the budget. And they're actually meeting this week. Hopefully, we'll know more about where that ends up. And, I know what I heard from him is we may not get everything we've asked for from a, funding standpoint. I think he's doing a good job of representing, since he's from Levy County, being a commissioner. He understands the issues with small counties and financial constrained counties. I think he's representing us well that way, so just wanted to mention that.
All right, Mr. Thomas?
I got nothing.
All right, I had one gentleman that called me and he made a lot of sense. When we get ready to talking about roads that need to be paved, he wanted us to look at 80th Avenue that runs parallel to 26. He says it's easier to get grants if you run a road that's parallel to major roads. Let's say there's an accident on 26 and they have to exit everybody off of 26 and send them around on a detour. 80th Street from Fannin Springs all the way to Trenton parallels 26. And it's a very heavily traveled dirt road this time of year, especially with all the watermelon trucks and other things. But even when the watermelon trucks aren't running, that road is heavily traveled. When we get ready to start looking at roads to pave, I would like to have that one looked at.
Before we can submit that road, we will have to obtain the right of way. And that's what your problem is there, is you don't have the right of way. That's what we call the main line.
Yeah.
You know, and, that runs from 307,
Yep.
picks up at 307, 307A and keeps going.
Right.
And I'm not opposed to what you're saying. I agree 100%. But that's the issue there. If you'll notice, in some spots, that road seems to be barely 20 foot wide. And the fence is right on the edge of the road on both sides, so it would take some work. We would have to go out and speak to the property owners about donation of property for the ROW. And even at that point, it could be submitted. I also will tell you, since you mentioned that road, I'm not trying to be negative. We were pretty much instructed that over the next 5 to 10 years, that they will not be given any money to pave a dirt road. It'll all be resurfacing for a while because it costs so much to turn one from dirt, to pave, and that they want to spread that money out a little bit more between the counties. But what I would say, we check with the owners, see if we can get the right of way, submit it anyway, get it on the list, so when they change their mind, it's on the list.
Well, right now, it'll be easier to get those right of ways than it will be 8 or 10 years down the road when people start moving in on that road. Cause right now, both sides of that road, the majority of it is farm fields. And I think they'd be a whole lot more apt to allow us to move fences and donate land than what's gonna happen to you start building a bunch of houses up and down that road. And then you got property and houses next to it and all that. So it was just something also, he stated
Good
that
idea.
being that it's a lateral road, he says, if you use that word, a lateral road, that, it's usually a little easier to get funding grants and things such as that, to put these types of roads in because they wanna have ways to get people around accidents or whatnot if that happens on there. There was a road in Cheatham that they worked on real hard to get this done, and eventually it got done because it was a lateral road to one of the roadways in Trenton and Cheatham that they were talking about.
If you agree to let them make that 26,
Huh?
if you agree to let them make that lane 26, like east or west, and the old 26 the other direction.
Yeah, one of the,
That's what I was thinking too.
4 lane at one way, 4 lane at the other.
one of the things that was, in that rural renaissance
solution.
bill, that the rural renaissance bill that, was gonna help small counties was a farm to market road paving.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if that's gonna pass, but that'd be the kind of road it might fit.
Yeah, most definitely.
Not many owners on that road either for a good part of it. It's single ownership, a lot of it.
Yeah. So, just something I wanted to throw out there and think about.
They keep up the bridge on most of that road.
And, yeah, you're right, all the way to,
Is that next road? I think.
313, isn't it?
So, I just wanted to throw that out there when we start about paving roads, that was a good idea. When I heard it, I thought, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea.
When would the road make next time, sometime in July?
Mm-hmm. Well, we can meet anytime. We usually do
When
July or something.
usually turn in our road request.
We wouldn't put another request in until December of this year. So that's when you'd put that request in. And it's pretty easily what I can do is, I'll look at the ownership. And like I said, I don't, the west end's probably got more ownership than the east end, but we can check on that and just say, hey, would you be willing to donate the right of way if we could get this road paved and see what they say.
All right, I don't have anything else. It's been a busy month with graduations and, into the school stuff and, want everybody to be careful of the extra semis and buses that are out on the roads. I've sat at that intersection in Trenton and I've seen some real close trucks, semi trucks trying to make those turns with people blocking them and I saw one that I don't think you could have slipped a piece of paper between the truck and the car. They almost hit, and then finally the car backed up out of the way so they could make the turn. So want everybody to be careful in the county, and there's nothing else. So, we got a public participation.
Hey, I do have something. Have y'all noticed when you're coming, like coming from the high school, if you're coming south at that red light, if you're trying to turn like you're going towards, Gainesville, that it only lasts like, enough
Oh,
for
yeah.
like 2 cars.
Went there the other day, 3 cars
Yeah.
through.
They have had people out there working on it that actually is monitored by the city.
Can you get a hold of
President
them
is.
Chief,
and let them know that?
Chief Resro is aware of the situation. He has been advised of it, but I don't know as far as if anything.
About 2 weeks ago, there was people out there at 7 o'clock one morning watching.
Can you
and
just let them know
jumping.
again that it's still a problem?
I think they've had some trouble
It's
there.
definitely an issue.
It's
I agree.
definitely-
Yeah. I noticed that the other day.
That same thing.
I was coming back from the EOC and
I've noticed it every day. It's
Um,
been bad.
it took forever to get through.
Don't tell Suge this, but I run it this weekend because they did it to me and there wasn't nobody there but me.
He's gonna be back there watching for you next time.
Yeah, if somebody would get a hold of them, because I've had complaints on it and it's happened to me also.
All right. Any other public participation? All right, well, y'all have a great month and, if I get a motion to adjourn?
So